I was born into drug and alcohol abuse. I was born into addiction. Um, some people say that it's a disease, and I believe, addiction is a disease, but at the same time, it's like sometimes when it's in your blood, you just can't help but, it's not like I decided one day to wake up and say, hey, I want to be an addict. Forgotten, lost, misunderstood, confused, undesirable, ugly, unwanted, empty, and angry. I was brought up in a broken home, and so it was just chaotic, like from the get-go. My mom always told me that she wanted to kill herself from the day she was born, basically. It seemed like my mom was raped, my mom was abused and beat up by her own mother. My mom was raped by her brother. And so she put a lot of her anger and rage on us kids, and so we got the brunt of it. My mom, drugs and alcohol, sex, any kind of abuse was really normal in our lives. So yeah, I just came from that broken home of sexual abuse, physical abuse. So my mom ends up molesting my brother. And then he molested my sister and I. And that was pretty much where all of the innocence was lost. So being at the young age that I was and knowing that my mom tried killing herself, I felt really sad and like we weren't good enough. I was confused too because I was so young, I didn't really know what was going on. And when my mom went to treatment, my sister and my brother and I all got put in foster care. So we went from home to home to home, and we got separated. My brother went into different foster care than my sister and I, but my sister and I got to stay together. But the abuse didn't stop. There was people that were in those homes that had sons, and they would molest my sister and do things with her, and so it just didn't stop, and it affected our relationships. And so I would say at a very young age, my relationships were totally just bamboozled. They were no good. Just broken, empty relationships. I just felt abandoned. I felt alone, The first time I drank, I was 7th grade, probably. I was 10 or 11 years old. It was on lunch break at school. Well, not at school. I was on lunch break, and we went to a friend's house, and I remember having a Coors Light and a shot of peppermint schnapps. And the feeling that came over me in that moment was, finally, I feel like I have some confidence. And I went back to school just feeling like $1,000,000. I didn't care what anybody thought of me. I didn't care that I smelled like alcohol. I wanted more. It was like a shark tasting blood when I drank. And it was on after that. And so I started popping pills and huffing nail polish. Got into my first fight at here in Bismarck when I was in junior high. And I was the new girl. I got picked on, I got bullied. I got cookies thrown at my head in the lunchroom, and I hid in the counselor's office. during lunch. I was scared. I didn't have real friends. And the friends I thought I had, like, ran away when I would get picked on. I didn't have anybody to stick up for me, so I was stuck in this cage, and I couldn't get out. And really, I didn't realize that I was already an alcoholic. And the cage in the prison that I was stuck in, it was like a 4-inch prison between my ears. And I was so stuck in my head. And I couldn't get out, and so I just drank more. I'm involved in a really bad crowd, and I've got friends that party all the time, and I'm drinking all the time, and I'm just feeling empty. And I'm dating this guy. It's a different guy again, because of course there was never a moment that I didn't have a boyfriend. I always had to have a boyfriend. And so I was dating this guy, and about this time I was 21 years old, and I just felt worthless. I just didn't feel good enough that I would ever measure up for this guy. And I tried committing suicide. That wasn't the first time, though. The first time I tried killing myself, I was 12. I took a bunch of pills, and obviously it didn't work. My mom didn't think anything of it. She just thought I was trying to get attention. But I wanted to die because I didn't think my sister loved me. And it was all over a stupid boy. I told my sister that if she loved me, she wouldn't sleep with this guy that I had a crush on. And she went and she had sex with this guy. And I told her I was going to kill myself. And so I took a bunch of pills and I tried. And so it was always like this game of like, I'm going to kill myself if I don't get what I want, you know? Because I didn't think there was any other way to live if I didn't get what I wanted, because I didn't know how to handle disappointment, you know? So my mom, sicker and sicker, she would burn her hair when she was like passing out from being so doped up on pain pills, burn the bed. It was really crazy. And I came home from work one night and she was on her knees trying to catch her breath, you know? So I grabbed her inhaler, I grabbed her nebulizer, tried to get her all hooked up so she could breathe. I'm like, Mom, you're gonna be okay, you're gonna be fine, you know? And she was like, Nicci, I'm not gonna make it this time. Like, she knew. I was like, you're gonna be fine. She's like, I love you, Nicci. And so she ended up going to the hospital. And then she was there for about a week or so, and then she died. And I remember I was so numbed out. Like, I couldn't even be there for her. I was so numbed out, you know? I was working, and I covered up pain by working all the time. I covered up not wanting to face my problems by using and drinking and running away and not facing them. I could never face anything. I didn't know how to deal with that stuff. And so she died. I was there, and it was hard, but it was almost like a relief. Like, gosh, she was in so much pain, you know, emotionally, spiritually. She was so bankrupt. And after that, it was like our family just fell apart. My rock bottom was getting the DUI. And I was court ordered to go to treatment for the 3rd time. And I went, and it was in treatment where my counselor said, Nicci, if you want other people to respect you, you have to learn how to respect you. And that means that you need to go to college, you need to get an education, you need to start dressing differently, and you need to start speaking differently. And I just remember getting so mad at him, and I tried fighting with my counselor because to me, that was the first man that ever wanted me to succeed. That was the first man that never wanted anything from me but to see me succeed. He didn't want to sleep with me. He didn't want drugs from me. He didn't want alcohol. He didn't want any of that. He wanted my happiness, because he saw potential in me. And that meant something. And so I ended up applying for college at age 32, I think. And so being like this off-the-grid hippie, I had like dreadlocks and never had the license or the car. Like I never had a laptop or a cell phone or any of that stuff because I was so against media. And so yeah, I ended up going to college. And college is where I really found that passion and that drive again. I think one of my first major encounters with God and the Holy Spirit, when I was a child, I was laying in bed one night, and this was before my mom tried killing herself, before we were separated and went into foster care. I was laying in bed, and it was like this hand came out of the ceiling and just touched my forehead, and I remember I just knew that was God, and I was a little frightened because it was like this hand came out of the ceiling, but it was this real like God encounter. I remember that as a child, and my mom said it was God, and that was the first time we prayed, and I remember just feeling comforted by that. And so I always knew that God was with me, but I didn't always have that relationship with God. I didn't know what that would look like. I just remember even going through those moments of despair and chaos and feeling like I was lost, crying on my kitchen floor and just begging God to kill me because I just couldn't stand this life thing, But I knew God was there. I knew he existed, but there was so much more that I was meant for. And that's why I'm not dead, And so I go to UG, and I knew that I was supposed to go. And when I was there, I knew that God was calling me. And it scared me, And it was a different type of God encounter, a different type of spiritual encounter than whatever kind of spiritual encounter that I could ever gain from being involved with New Age types of things. And I ended up I keep going to the church. I keep going, and I go to Sundays, and pretty soon I'm, wanting to get involved, and I am going through the membership process, and then I become a member at Evangel, and then I become baptized, and I'm about 2 years sober at this point, and I just feel so much love, in my life, and I'm starting to love myself. I went to one of the Girls' Night Out conferences at Evangel, and I'm sitting in this pew, and the woman that was talking at the time, she was talking about the woman at the well, and she was talking about the dreams that you have for your life and expectations that you think the way that your life is supposed to look. And she said that there is no well too deep that Jesus can't reach down and pull you out of. And that hit me so hard. And it was that night, really, that I made that definite decision to follow Christ. And when we prayed that prayer, I just knew that my life was different. And it was shortly after that I made that decision to rededicate my life to Christ. And I got baptized again. If you're lost, or you're hurting, or you're broken, reach out for help, because there's people that really do care about you. And life isn't that bad that you have to die. Because Jesus loved me so much that he reached down and pulled me out of that well. And I know that he can do the same for you.